Okay, now as someone that deals with a lot of equipment day in and day out, I have to say one of the fun things about doing what I do for a living is you do come across pieces of equipment that genuinely surprise you in what they can do and for the price point they can deliver at. And recently I came across one that I kind of want to share with you because I was kind of really blown away by what this very, very affordable monitor can do. And this is the Feelworld ATEM156 quad split monitor. Now this is a 15.6-inch director's monitor for switchers, mixers, and studio type television. And what does that mean for you? Well, it means that if you're someone that finds themselves doing a lot of live production or even multicam setups, this may be a piece of equipment that you find indispensable in the near future. Now the ATEM156 has two essential functions. One, it can serve as a director's monitor, which is, if you've never used a director's monitor or something in a video village like this will quickly become an essential thing you need on any kind of real set where you're making money. Now if you're working in the business and you haven't really thought about getting something like a monitor, it's one thing I would have to tell you that as a cinematographer, having a large monitor for reference, it will 100% make a huge difference in how you shoot. I think the first time I was surprised whenever I brought a monitor on set was just the difference it made in how I was able to up the quality of work that I was getting, because I could really take that moment, look at a monitor like this, and I could just study it. And I could really just feel what I was doing. It really let me kind of dive in deep into what I was doing for these things. And let's be honest, it just makes you look like you've got a bigger budget and know what you're doing. This just adds an automatic level of prestige to how you're shooting. Now, while the ATEM1516 works good as a director's monitor and lets you see exactly what you want, it actually serves another really interesting function. And that is the fact that this is a monitor that is optimized to work as a multi-cam monitor, especially for live stream events and in conjunction with the Blackmagic ATEM Mini or the Mini Pro. Now the ATEM Mini Pro can actually send all the feeds out at once if you have any kind of monitor, but if you're like me and only have a regular ATEM Mini, this allows you to technically have a monitor that pulls up multiple feeds at once. And as you can see right in here, I've got 3 cameras set up, but you can do up to 4 cameras that plugs in. And what's great is you can see all your cameras here at once. So this means that if you find yourself as someone that does any kind of like live multicam streaming setup, this really kind of becomes a dream setup for you, because you can actually go right into your ATEM Mini into a webcam and then also have a feed coming in a large monitor, and this allows you to view the whole system and do some live streaming. So it's a really, really fantastic system. And what's really great, if I click on a button here, I can come to just a whole shot of the thing. You can see here I am, I'm obviously set up and good to go. If I want to go to HDMI 2, I can click over there. You'll get just a second delay as it clicks over, and then you'll see me here on HDMI 2. If I want to go to HDMI 3, I can then click over here on HDMI 3. So I can quickly jump and see each scene that I want in a really big situation. And if I have a multi-function, I can click it up, and you'll actually see it brings up a 4-up display, which is really, really helpful in letting me see every single thing that is going on here on my camera. Now you can see, because I am running through HDMI cables here, there is a little bit of, if I hit a button, there's a bit of a delay, but that's okay if you can like live with that little bit of a delay. This really lets you have a really good multi-cam reference to see. And you can see right here with the 3 cameras that I can really just see everything that's going on in my studio. If I had a 4th HDMI camera, I had a 4th one up there just to show you. So this is really, really interesting. And what I like about this is the fact that right now I've got 3 HDMIs plugged in the back, but it actually has 4 HDMIs in and it has 4 HDMIs out. So what that means is you could plug this if you want a higher resolution situation. You could plug that and then plug them right here into your ATEM Mini, and then that would give you all the multi-function control you would typically have on an ATEM Mini. So just a really, really ingenious little setup. Was not expecting to see this when I got this monitor, but I do think it's one of those things that this could be pretty much the ultimate YouTube monitor as far as I'm concerned. I really could see having this set up in a studio. I'll probably end up setting this up in my studio here myself, and being able to have this where I can easily reference what I'm shooting without trying to squint at the monitor that's above my camera over there. I can set this here on my desk just out of frame and have a much bigger and much better source of reference. Now, the ATEM156 has a lot of nice features that really help it stand out on a set. Now, the first is obviously, as you can see here, it's multi-cam nature. It has 4 HDMI inputs and 4 HDMI outputs. it also has a V-mount power option in addition to a standard 12-volt plug-in option. Now this is really great because this allows you to power this monitor pretty much anywhere without having to worry about finding an extension cord. The other thing that I really liked about it, it's got this kind of a tilting base, and that allows it to be used on both a desktop, but if you pick it up, there's actually 1/4-inch mounts on here that allow you to easily put this on a C-stand or any kind of monitor mount for easy setup. Because when you're on a set, you don't want to be worrying about where you have to place this monitor. You end up having to move them around a lot. So having that ability to have it not plugged in, you have that monitor, and having that ability to mount it on both a standard like C-stand, rolling stand, or put it on a tabletop, just gives you the flexibility to be realistic about how you're going to be using something like this on a set. Now, this monitor does say 4K right here in the corner, but it's not a 4K monitor. It's actually a 1920 by 1080 HD monitor, which can input a 4K signal. Now, in my experience, I've worked with lots of monitors on set, and honestly, a full HD 1920 by 1080 is plenty to get great detail and really make accurate decisions on work. So the resolution of this I would consider really, really realistic and practical for on-set decisions. Now, the build quality of the ATEM156 is solid, but you know, this is kind of a hard plastic monitor. So I really see this as a set monitor. I mean, this is not something I would probably envision taking out if you were stomping around the fields of Montana or Idaho or something like that. But if you're in a situation that's a controlled environment, in a studio, any kind of office type setting, I think this thing will be more than sufficient. Now, in its build, it's actually a very, very nice tactile monitor. Now, the screen is not a touch monitor, but it does have a lot of good option menu buttons here on the bottom. But as you can see on the bottom here, you have HDMI 1, 2, and 3, and if you want to switch your input, you just click the button. It will take about 3 or 4 seconds to switch over, as you can see right here, and then once it does, you can easily see that. So that allows you to really jump between your different cameras and see exactly where you're getting. This is actually the #1 thing that I like. You have a classic menu button, which I'll go over, and you can set a lot of stuff. And you have a situation here where you have 4 customizable buttons. Now, my favorite customizable button is I've set 4 right here. As you can see, I can hit the 4, and then if I pull that up, you'll see all of my cameras will pop up here at once and show me what I'm getting. This is a really good way, once you kind of set up everything up and you got exactly what you want to kind of see the whole thing, you can see right here that I have the 4 pop-up displays and can kind of go what I want. Now, in addition to that, I can also set basically whatever you want. I mean, you can set the F1, you can get false color, which is one of those things that's going to be really, really important to have on a set. False color is just one of those tools that gives you a way more realistic and tactile feel for exposure. And it's really one of those things, honestly, if I'm going to have a director's or any kind of monitor like this on set, I definitely am going to want to have this kind of colors just like this. And as you can see, it's got a couple of different false color options, and I can come back and do it. And you can set these to whatever you want. So for instance, I have a zoom. Now the zoom on this is kind of interesting in the fact that because it's not a touch screen, if you zoom, it'll zoom to different parts of the screen. So it starts off kind of on the top left, and then you can see here go to the top right, and then kind of lower left, lower right, and then kind of back here in the center, and then it'll go to center 2. It gives you 2 centers, and then you click it again, and then it comes out. So it does have a zoom function, which is really, really good for critical things like focus. But just be aware, it'll jump you around the grid as far as that. And then you can set your F3 to whatever you want. I've set my F3 here to come up and it gives me a grid system. It can be both a classic kind of rule of thirds grid, or you can do a 6x grid kind of like this. So the menu is fairly straightforward and gives you a lot of the really important things that you're going to want to get on a director's monitor, no matter what. Now, I've actually found the colors on this have been surprisingly good. I haven't really noticed anything off with the colors. I feel like based on what I'm shooting, I am able to get what I need and be able to accurately monitor this to come back to the studio with a good feel of what I need to get. The other thing about this I think is really important, if you'll notice down here, it actually has a headphone jack. That means if you're using something like an ATEM Mini, which really doesn't have a way to really monitor it very well, you could actually plug your ATEM Mini into here and you can monitor your sound of what's going. It's just a nice set or situation if you're in a situation where you have that out. And what I love about this is you can plug either your camera straight into the ATEM Mini and put it in here, or you can loop it through the monitor itself and come down here to your ATEM Mini, just depending on what you need. Now, whenever I do a review on any product, I do always like to mention rooms for improvement and things that I think you need to be aware of if you're considering getting this, to make sure that a product like this would actually make sense for you in how you shoot. Now, the first thing I would say about this is, the first thing you're gonna notice is it is awesome having the ability to jump between the channels, but I will say there is a very noticeable lag as you switch between HDMI imports. It's just like on your TV doing it like that. So it's a very, very similar thing. So if you're in a production setting, that lag may be somewhat troublesome. The good news is that you can actually take your ATEM Mini and reverse the flow. I was showing you what happens when I plug into this Feelworld ATEM156 and then come to the ATEM Mini, but I can reverse that. And it's very, very easy. All I have to do is plug in my cameras to my Blackmagic ATEM Mini like I normally would, and then if you look over here, when I jump, you can see it's an instantaneous jump between the different things. And so that gives me that ability, from a production standpoint, you need to have that very fast, quick transitions. I can do that using the ATEM Mini. Now, the only area that I would say I was a little bit surprised by, like, this thing is great that it has false color, but what I was surprised is that it has a thing of peaking called ultra vivid, but not actual like traditional peaking where you can actually see things in a certain color like red or purple or white and send it to that. It basically makes things super crisp. So it's got that kind of peaking as an ultra vivid, but it doesn't really have traditional peaking. It would be nice if you had a situation where you could just have peaking on a monitor like that. It just is something that I like to see and expect. And really the only thing that I would say you just need to be aware of, while I love the fact that this thing does have false color, it doesn't really give me a lot of information about what false color mode I'm in. And the other thing is, a lot of time if you get false colors, you'll usually have some kind of a graph beside there to let you know what those colors represent. You don't really have a representative graph there, so you do need to make sure you're aware and you research what that false color is before you get in there. And then the only other thing I would say that you do need to be aware of, if you're using any kind of director's monitor or anything like this, you will almost at some point definitely end up attaching a wireless system to this, so you can just easily wirelessly get your signal here to it. And it doesn't have any native points on it that are really easy to just natively mount on there. Now, this is something you experience with a lot of monitors, but do be aware you are gonna have to get an additional periphery if you wanna start mounting stuff on there. Luckily, on the back of this, there are holes that you can basically mount different things, but you do need to be aware if you're going to mount a wireless autofocus, it doesn't come natively kind of with this. You need to make sure you're going to get a second piece of equipment to help you do that. So as you can see, this ATEM156 is just a really, really powerful little quad monitor, much more juice in it than I was expecting for the price. And that's really the other thing you've got to talk about if you're talking about a monitor like that, and that is the price. This ATEM156 comes in at $478, which is an investment if you're a shooter out there, but it is literally about a third of the cost of what you would expect to find usually for director's monitors. And that would be affordable director's monitors. They can run up to into the thousands of dollars. So to be able to get a 15.6-inch monitor that has all false color, multiple HDMI inputs, quad displays, all that stuff for less than $500 really makes this a fantastic steal if you're looking at getting something like this. So there you go, guys. I just thought this was a really, really cool little find and something that I think most shooters out there would benefit by having something like this. And just knowing the price point is so low and so accessible, I think this is one of those things, if you've been thinking about maybe needing a studio or you're doing a lot of live streaming or you have a YouTube channel, this could be a tool that really, really helps you up your game and makes your life a lot easier. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you have to say with this. Leave me notes and comments down below. Yeah, go out there, keep on shooting, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.